Hi everybody, I am Julia Anchorhaven and this is a disclosure diary episode. I'm not sure what number we're up to, maybe 25, I'm not sure. But in this series, what I do is I talk about things that have been going on with me personally, things that I've been processing, memories perhaps that have come forward, or ways of working that I've been developing, interactions that I might have had with others, or just general things I've noticed in the community. So it's been a couple of weeks since I've done a diary, and I'm actually at quite an interesting spot on my journey because it was this time last year, so it's pretty much 12 months ago now, that my awareness opened up and I got a lot of context about what's going on with me. And so I'm 50 now, so but for most of my life I felt like I did not fit in. I had experiences that my body seemed to react to, but I didn't remember. I didn't sleep very well, and if I did sleep, it was nightmares, or I had loud stomping noises, like loud tinnitus, but it was always like marching when I was a child, and it used to terrify me. So I've had a lot going on in the last 50 years, and it's the last 18 months when I've really started to get that context. So you'll notice that for the last 6 weeks I have been doing lots of posts on my YouTube saying replay this video, and that's just to kind of remind people of where I was a year ago, stuff I was doing. So I did have a year or so ago, I had a few sessions with Soma Ara. So I stopped the Palladian child, somaara.love. So I started to get a little bit of confidence in asking questions about, okay, who am I really? Why am I experiencing this? And what's this random memory that I've been told is this, that, and the other by a quantum healer that I know, or, so what's going on? And it was about this time last year that I had my first session with Sean Bond from Psionic League. And just straight away, he was able to, oh, things are dropping, he was able to open up my energy and see, oh, you're this, you're that, you're the other. And it was just a mind-blowing video. So straight away, he knew that I had alters, that my mind had been fractured, and he could tell that I was part of the SSP, which we'll go into a bit more. He could tell that I'd been abducted by government and ETs. He could tell many things straight away because he's got quite high authority, and he works extremely well to do what he does. He's very psychic, or psionic as we say, which is like psychic in action. Um, oh, so yeah, so then I took that information, and my process that I've been developing over the last year is to basically see what I can get myself naturally by doing meditations, by doing journaling, by querying old memories, and by maybe looking at some things from the past that I've been avoiding, that are a bit of a trigger. Maybe there's something that I don't remember, and I start to query, okay, why? Then I take that information to somebody I trust, like Sean Bond, or Christy Campbell, or Soma Ara, or people like that, and we see what they get from my information and what else they can add to it and what feels right. Now, every piece of information I get, I basically scrutinize it. I vet it. I try to disprove it, in fact. That's what I've been doing for the last 12 months, is trying to disprove every memory, every piece of information. I've been trying to prove that it's not real. That's my process, and I haven't been able to do that very much at all. I don't think there's anything that's come in. I thought that's definitely not. So after I'd had a session with Sean Bond, I then had a session with Jessica Morocco, and the reason I did that was because Brian Seng had released a video that he'd done with the ACIO, the Advanced Contact Intelligence Organization, and I watched his video and it felt extremely familiar to me. And it was with Jessica Morocco and Peter the Insider, and they're talking about things like time travel, stargates, time crystals, and it's feeling very familiar. And from Brian himself, I have a knowing there that I knew him as a child on a ship, that I saw myself in a classroom, and I saw that he was the boy next to me. And so I also thought that's a bit weird, but he's definitely that boy. So I started to watch a few more videos of the ACIO, And somebody asked a question about the Master of Observers, and Peter the Insider said, "What? Master of Observers? How do you know of that?" And as soon as he said that, my mind opened and images projected in front of me and started flashing in my face. And I've never had that kind of holographic reaction to memories before, but I'd accessed something with that key phrase, Master of Observers. So then that made me curious. Who are these observers? Am I an observer? I've got to know, right? So, but there was so much information and it was so fast that I was only able to pick out certain things. Me in a private plane, like in the TV show Alias. Me walking through tunnels with another person, like a boy who looked like me. Me monitoring tunnels. There's quite a few other things. So one of my issues that I've had in the last year is I get a lot of mind wipes, and I've always had a memory issue, which is very annoying for my friends and my family. So I'd had a big reaction, and so I thought, I'm going to book in with this Jessica Morocco and see what that's all about and if she can help me. And on that very day that I was about to have a session with her, I had a psychic connection to a black pyramid. Right before the session, I had a connection, like a visual experience where I found myself inside a pyramid, and so then I was able to go on and talk to her about it. So much happened from this point in time last year that I discovered that not only am I all those things, I'll read my bio in a second, but I'm connected to somebody else. There's 4 or 5 other people that remember me in my different forms, and that I have clones. So one of the things I really want to touch on today, I'm not going to go in too deep, because I don't prepare very much in advance, that's why, because I want to do a session with John Whitberg where we can talk about clones and we can talk about things like that in more accuracy. So I'm just going to touch on the clones topic. But to give you an idea of how things have changed in the last year, if somebody had asked me about my bio in January 2025, I would have said that I am a Violet Flame Reiki Master Teacher. I'm a world traveller. I am an Akashic Oracle reader. I read cards. And I'm a crystal healer and a sound therapist. And I probably would have left it at that, that I do retreats and I teach, and I probably would have left it there. But since having this past year of experiences, my bio has expanded. So not only do I have that to start it off, but now I can confidently say that I am a Milab, I'm a military abductee, and I am a survivor of the secret space program. I hold fragmented memories of service in multiple covert programs and projects connected to Merge, which we'll talk about later, Kruger, Monarch, Umbrella, Nachtwaffen, Mars Defense Force, and probably others that are coming in. I'm linked to deep underground military bases in the UK, USA, Canada, India, Russia, South Africa, Diego Garcia Naval Base, Australia, and off-world breakaway colonies. So I have alters, I have clones, and they have skills ranging from super soldier, super scientist, ancient technology retrieval, Stargate operations, espionage, geneticist, clone scientist, and diplomat. So a year ago, I would not have had that bio, but I've had a pretty busy year. So, and with everything that I do, and I always say to everybody, this is my truth. If it doesn't make sense to you, then don't try and make that fit. This is just what I believe to be true at this point in time. And yeah, this isn't something for you to comment on or take what resonates or anything like that. This is just me letting you know the process that I've been going through over the last 12 months. I want to share that because in doing that, I'm hoping it will help somebody else. Because when you're getting memories coming in, or you're getting emotions, or you're getting fear, and you do not know where it's coming from, it's scary. And sometimes people have random memories or reactions to people, and you don't know what to do. So for the past year, I've been documenting my process. You can have a look on my website, anchorhaven.co.uk/debrief, and there's a little bit of information there, a little bit of background on things, some of my videos for you to start off with. And you know, just see how you go. I do get some people now who want to have a chat with me about their experiences. You can always book a consultation, or you can just send me a message. Or if you want to go deeper, we can see what comes up. And yeah, but work with people you trust. So you'll notice there's a few videos on my channel. There's a playlist called Anchorhaven Origins, and this videos with me and Drago, Reid, me and Sean Bond, me and Christy Campbell, Soma Arar. I'm trying to think who else I've been working with. There's a few people that I like to work with, so do go and have a look at that. Okay, so one of the first things I want to touch on is the idea of alters, aspects, and clones. And my kind of understanding of this has changed and simplified a lot in the last year. They're all you, basically. They're all you. So initially I was thinking alters were within this physical body and aspects or clones were outside of this body, but really they're all you. They all contain a piece of your soul. I have an ability where I can tune into all versions of me, and I can see through their eyes. So I might find myself in Australia in an underground facility, or I find myself in, you know, Diego Garcia to see what she's doing over there. So there's a lot of versions of me. And one of the things that I discovered from my session initially with Sean Bond was there's a lot of versions of me. There was, initially he said there was more than 10,000, but that was my higher self going easy on me and giving me a number that wouldn't be too overwhelming, because then I had a session with Peter the Insider and he said it's closer to 24 million versions of me, which of course is ridiculous. So then I went back to Sean Bond, and then he said, yeah, I can confirm there's a lot more, there's millions. So we then started a process of connecting to those to see, are they helpful or are they harmful? Do I need to have them? Is having so many clones draining my energy? Yes, it is. It does. So imagine that you have one big oversoul of energy and they're taking drops of that out to put into all these other versions of you. So clones of you, they may be biological copies of you that have a piece of your soul. So they might have your DNA, so they might look just like me, or they may be a mixture of me and other DNA, so look a little bit different, or they may be a completely different body that has my soul drop in it to run it like a control system. Okay, there could be my soul put into a synthetic, so so the brain could be a real brain but the body might not be real, or it could be replicant where everything is completely kind of advanced robot, but like so advanced that you could never tell it was not human, and it's still got an essence of my soul there. So the closest that you can get to understanding these things is when you have a look at a few TV shows. The first one that comes to mind is always going to be Altered Carbon. And Altered Carbon is a TV show that has been based upon John Whitberg's Alter, Kyle Dell show. Okay, so when you watch that, it literally is like you're watching Kyle. And it gives you a great idea into what the breakaway societies are like off planet, and it looks into the body cloning process and how they have a stack at the back of their neck, which is basically like a soul bite. So it has their soul's information in there, and it can be transferred from one vessel, one chassis, one echo to another. Okay, so this is what I've discovered over the last year. I am not an expert in this form, however I am an expert off planet. So that's how I can touch on these things. So in this form, I'm just trying to break it down the most simple way for me to understand, so hopefully that you can understand it. But I do have versions of me off-world, potentially on planet as well, who are clone scientists, okay? This is quite hard to talk about. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a clone of mine, which is physically me. Because she's in Nachtwaffen. So Nachtwaffen, a lot of people call it Dark Fleet, but that's just a popular term. Nachtwaffen actually means night weapons, and I think of it as Germans in space who are like in a mirror universe is how I think of it, because everybody is bad. That's kind of how I think of it. So we've all been raised bad. When we go there, we all have a dark perspective on things. That's how I think of Netwaffen. They're not necessarily going around handing out nice lollipops to people or whatever. They're going around dominating the universe, okay? So I have a clone over there who is a scientist, a super scientist. And when I say that, it's because I already have a high IQ, which is confirmed in my ACIO files. But when we work in these projects, they do augmentation, or they give you things that increase your IQ even higher. So when I say super scientist, I mean the IQ is well over 200, yeah? So I call her Ella Montgomery. And this name has come in organically by me connecting into her mind, seeing through her eyes, because I've got some of her memories. So she's not fully integrated with me. I have a telepathic connection to Ella. I believe she's still there. Okay, I have tried to call back some of my clones, some of my alters. Some of them have reintegrated, but I don't believe I've fully got Ella. I think she is still active. I've had confirmation of her from 2 people that they know of her, actually maybe 3. And but basically she is a psycho, like most of my clones. So so the memories that I have of her are that she's very focused, very driven. She's very programmed to do her work. Her work is not nice work. It is genetic work. It is advancing DNA. It is augmenting. It is making chimera. So she is an evil scientist, basically, a genetic genius. So that's Ella Montgomery. So she's in Netwaffen. I do have another aspect of me in Netwaffen that I have been told about, I haven't fully connected into, and it's a 7-foot tall Lyran feline who is blue and orange, and we call her Aurora. But again, she's scientist. So whereas a lot of people have Supersoldier only, I have a mixture of Supersoldier, scientist, tacticians, analysts, diplomats. There's a whole mixture of what I get used for, which is why I have a lot of clones, okay, which we'll come back to. And another clone scientist of me, more of a science coordinator taking care of the clones at a facility on Elysium, Mars, is Tabitha. Tabitha is synthetic, and I do get to see through her eyes quite often, and she's always in a place that's so bright and white and beautiful, with lots of glass screens, technology glass screens, and she is very Aryan looking. She is very blonde and blue eyes and perfect, yeah? So I have a couple of clone scientists that I connect into, so I can call in information, ask questions sometimes. It's a bit like that. So this is so weird to talk about. So one of the things people ask me is, have you ever seen a clone of you? And yes, I have. I met my doppelganger in France when I was at Disneyland Paris, Euro Disney, and I was with my sister, her husband, my son, my nephew, and we were outside Disneyland Paris. There's all these buses that take you to the hotels, and I was looking across the street, and there was a woman who looked just like me, but much paler skin, paler hair. It was like a bleached white kind of looking. And my brother-in-law was shouting, it's you, ha ha ha, that woman looks just like you. And I turned and I looked, and I felt immediately sick. I felt like dizzy. I felt something come over me, because that was another version of me, and we were basically in the same time space. So she was just, 10 meters away from me or whatever. So that was very uncomfortable. But I can describe what she looks like, because she's been depicted just like I have in a TV show. And so this starts the crazy portion of my diary, where I tell you about TV shows, if you're not already aware, are soft disclosure, and these TV shows are generally based on these programs, and they do that, the dark factions do that, because they believe if they tell us everything that they're doing, even if it's bad, that will offset their karma, and we have not objected, so therefore we have consented, is how they see it. So consent is a tricky topic when it comes to the clones. Talk about that in a second, okay? So if you have not yet watched the TV show Orphan Black, please do. And so there is 2 videos of me with Jessica Morocco and Peter the Insider, where it is referenced that I basically am the Orphan Black, that TV show was based on a project that I was part of. So what you're looking at is kind of based on me and a brother figure that I have who's also represented in the program. Okay, so you think, well, why would somebody want to have so many clones? I'm going to say right now, I do not want to have so many clones. It's not something that I'm proud of. It's not something that's good. Something that drains the energy. It's extremely dangerous to have lots of clones. Very uncomfortable when you're in proximity to clones. So the TV show Orphan Black is based on a Kruger cloning program, and I just put myself on Do Not Disturb 1 second. Okay, so yeah, so the Orphan Black TV show, I believe, is based on a Kruger cloning program, and this information has basically come from the ACIO records. And when they do that multi-dimensional file pull, they're looking at much deeper than I could go normally into my Akashic records and the covert records that are held by all these military factions and alien factions or whatever. So going around in circles here, it's really hard to talk about. So myself and Drago Reid are both in this Orphan Black cloning program. And the program's probably called something completely different, but the Orphan Black TV show gives you a clue of what happens in that program. So if you can find that TV show, do. And it is basically based on the premise that there is a woman, Sarah Manning, who gets off a train in New York. She's British. She sees a woman that looks exactly like her jump in front of a train, so she's in shock, but she sees the lady's left behind her bag, her ID and everything, so she takes it all and she assumes her life, because Sarah Manning, the main lead in the show, is a bit of a grifter. She's a bit of a con artist, but what she doesn't realise is that woman that's just unalived herself is a police officer who has been investigating a clone ring. And this is all linked into the Dyad Institute. So Dyad is an old word for pairs, things made in pairs, and sometimes you'll hear Drago Reid talking about that I am one of his dyads. So Drago and I have been put into a pair body, and I've spent the last year basically trying to figure out what that connection is and if it's true, and then we met in person. And yes, it's true. And so what we kind of came to the conclusion of is that we're from the same soul family, and when our souls came to this planet, we were kind of captured and harnessed, and we were put into bodies that have the same genetic base code. And so basically we've got the same DNA as our base DNA. Then we were augmented with other DNAs, ET-DNAs as well, and things that would enhance our natural abilities, which are all light-based, and we were placed into bloodline families, him into American bloodline family, and me into a British bloodline family. So we were basically twins who were placed into little bodies and then placed on the other side of the world. But then we were brought back together to be trained in these programs by the Monarch Corporation. And that was done in the Toronto Deep Underground Military Base, so the DUM, which is under Canada and USA. So we were kind of raised there. So our mind was MK Ultra'd, manipulated, and we were raised to be soldiers and spies or whatever they needed. And then we were supposedly put into a different program by Kruger called The Merge. We were put into Merge, which is the Monarch Umbrella Refugee Group. This happened to us because we kept breaking free of our programming. And this happened, I believe, when we were teenagers, probably from the age 11 upwards. And we were put into different time missions and different programs on the planet and off the planet where we were looking for ancient technology to retrieve that, because not everybody can track it like we can. Not everybody can use it like we can. But we have that ancient Tuatha De Danann DNA plus that cosmic galactic DNA, that creator being architect DNA. So so that happens. So as part of being in this Kruger merge program, there was a lot of danger and drama, and we agreed to be cloned, to become multi-clones, to become echo clone templates. And so kind of making us an original with lots of others made from our template, our makeup. So we were used as soldiers and spies and other things, right? So that is one of the reasons why we are in that Orphan Black style cloning program, was because it was done to keep us safe in a way, because there was a lot of maybe warring factions going on. I'm not 100% confident on why that happened. Need to check with Drago. But yeah, so we had a meeting in March 2025, like an initial consultation to say, hey, I've got memory of you now. And so I had a session with Jessica. I asked the question about the Orphan Black. She said, yep, I totally get that confirmation for you, which was then later on confirmed in the ACO files. But Jessica said, but there's a brother. And I see you two together everywhere psychically. So as soon as she started to talk about Drago, I then got a memory access, seeing us both kind of opposite each other, Supersoldier form, being kind of intravenously receiving femto, which is like a nanotechnology to rebuild the body after battles or whatever. And so I got that imagery. So then I reached out to Drago and I said, please have a look at all this information that I've discovered. This is the memory I have of you. And in doing this, he was then able to start his journey of realizing that I was the person that he's been remembering his entire life. So he had a lot of memories, but he couldn't quite place me until we made that initial connection. So it was like, though, again, there was that uncloaking by Sean Bond. So for the 2025, poor Drago was experiencing all of these dark memories that he had, because the memories of us together were quite dangerous, and there's issues of me where I'm, out of control of my abilities, and we were pitted against each other a lot in training programs to test us against each other, which I do have a lot of memories of now, which are very uncomfortable, but I've done a lot of healing work there. So when we met in December 2025 at the BASES 2025 International Conference, initially our energy, my energy felt great, and then his energy was fluxing a little bit because we were coming back into recalibration. So not only were we a DNA dyad, but we were soldier dyad pair as well. So we have been augmented and trained to work together. So our implants linked together, our telepathy links together. We used to work together, so there was aspects of us that used to do that. So if he was on a time mission, I would be anchoring him into that reality, and vice versa. If he was down on the ground, boots on the ground, then I might be on a ship feeding him telemetry and information. So I have memories of seeing through his eyes, linked as one. As ultra soldiers together, we both literally became like mega soldier or something. I don't know. That's quite funny. Anyway, so I don't have that many memories of tactical stuff. If he says yes, I do, but I only have probably about 15 good memories, whereas I have a lot more of the science-based memories, and I've discovered, because my body believes that to be safer. However, last year things did get a bit crazy, but we're talking about clones. So Drago is the male clone, which is basically, in the show they call it the Castor clone. So they call the males Castor, and then you had the Sarah Manning type clone, so you had that female one there as well. So it's funny how in the second spin-off of Orphan Black, they called it Orphan Black Echoes, because Echo is another name for clone. So you've got lots of the same, yeah? So in the original Orphan Black series, there are 17 clones in the series. So you've got Sarah, who's the main one, who's British. Then you've got Cosima, who is a scientist who's got dreadlocks. Now, I had dreadlocks when I was about 16 and 17. So that's quite interesting, because when I look at the clones in this show, I'm just seeing versions of me from when I was 16 onwards. It's like I've had every single haircut. I've probably done lots of different jobs, and it's very, very similar. It's really freaky to watch. And the weird thing about it also was, it was one of my sisters that said to me originally, you need to watch this show. And but of course she's got no idea that I believe that it's based on me and my friend. So you've got Alison Hendricks, who's the soccer mom. So that's basically me now. I'm the soccer mom. You've got Helena, who's the Ukrainian. Now Helena, pale hair, pale skin, looks like the lady that I saw in France years ago. She looks just like that, right? So when I was watching Orphan Black originally, and there's that lady, it's the character Helena, it just blew me away. And then you've got Rachel Duncan, who gets called the pro clone because she's the professional one. She works for Neo, something they're called, you know, at the Dyad Institute. But she was raised knowing that she was a clone. Now, when I was a kid, I had an experience that I've remembered of playing with a girl that looked exactly like me. So Rachel Duncan would have had that same experience because she was raised in a facility with clones that all looked like her, basically. But she was raised to take over the empire, yeah. And the premise of the show is that people are going in to have surrogate babies, and they're basically implanting them with the same clone embryo. So they're doing that. So the mothers are not realizing that that's what they're getting, but that's what's happening. So they're out in the general population. So when I was in my very early 20s, I used to live near the south of London and everything. People would say to me, "Are you working in that nightclub in Croydon?" And I'm like, "No." And you're like, "You sure? She looks exactly like you." So even though I didn't go and see, I wish I had. But I know now that there was one there. So there's a couple of videos I've done with Sean Bond when we do, I call it clone tracking. And the reason we did those videos is because a map opened in my mind, a holographic map. And I was thinking about other versions of me and where were they? And I literally saw a map, and it started in the UK, and it just had arrows pointing out to every single country. It really did. So I've done a couple of videos with Sean now where we were looking for versions of me, and boy, did we find them. We found them all over the world. But one of the main places we found them was in London. Under Big Ben, there's like a lab facility there that we could tune into. But it didn't feel that negative. But there has been quite a few references from Sean Bond about me being taken at a baby, me being taken at age 5, taken at age 8, 11, and things like that for cloning. So yeah, so also there was reference to me being taken by the Naga, so like the snake-like people, so half human, half snake, because of my healing abilities. I have Naga DNA anyway. I've got a mixture of DNA, so they were using my DNA to create clones over there, right, in India or wherever. So let me just try and make sense of what I'm talking about. Try not to confuse everybody. Try to think about why and what and how. Okay, so yeah, so there's lots of versions. So originally, allegedly, we entered this Kruger cloning program for our own safety, not probably realizing that millions of clones of us would be made. I know Drago has spoken about rock stars of him. So there's rock star versions, so they don't look like him, but they're using his soul essence. And yeah, so there's lots of things like that. So on Mars, so I've got another clone that I have tuned into, and I realized that I've been tuning into her for a long time, and she is a major, and her name is Hildy Brunswick. So she is an off-world German. She lives on Mars. Potentially she's a Secretary of State type job. And I do know an SSP veteran who has awareness of her, who has memories of her as well. So, but I've discovered that there are moments when I get very kind of cold, and my mind is just like, why is this happening? Why is this not happening? I get very, very tactical, as if she's stepping forward to say, what is going on here? Why do we not have plans in place? Why is the light workers scattered? Where is the unity? Where are the generals on this planet, you know? So I feel like she comes in every now and then to say, everybody needs to get themselves into gear because this is not on. So I just kind of discovered that I've been altering out into her since I was in my 20s. But I do believe she's based on Mars. When I asked for a name, I got Hildy. And then I managed to get her last name. So if you are looking to get the names of your alter identities, please be aware they do have full names. Yeah, and this is something that I was talking to John Whitberg about. And he encouraged me to get the last name. So even out in space, The other versions of us, the off-world breakaway versions of us, they have full names. They're not just called like Tom or whatever. They really do have full names. So that's something to try and tune into, yeah? The other version I wanted to talk about is related to a TV show, which is the Umbrella Academy. So if you've not watched that, please do watch at least the first 2 seasons if you can find it. And it is about 7 children who are born under mysterious circumstances when there's like it's like a world event, I don't know, like a meteor event or something, I can't remember now, and all these young women suddenly get pregnant. Like one of them dives into the pool and then suddenly she's got a big pregnant belly and she gives birth to a baby. So totally random. And then there is a millionaire that goes around buying up all of these babies, and he gets his hands on 7 of them and he trains them to be basically super soldiers, yeah? Trains them to be superheroes. The Umbrella Academy. And there are 7. 6 of them have visible powers, and then there's one that has no visible powers, and that's Vanya. But you go on to discover that her powers have been suppressed, right? Which is kind of what's happened to me. And they've been suppressed because she's the worst one. And she has an ability, which is phosphoromancy, which is my ability to build light in the body, to project that out as plasma, and to manipulate other people's light bodies, basically. And in the first or second season, I can't remember which one now, she actually blows up the moon, and she's responsible for like an end of the world scenario in the future. And so I asked the ACIO, am I number 7? And again, it was like, how do you know that you're number 7? And I'm like, just totally getting that feeling here, because I've seen a ball of plasma released from my chest. You know, I've had these indicators that I can do these particular things or whatever. So yes, so Vanya number 7 does appear to be based on an alter of me. But again, take what you think. This is just what I believe and what other people have verified, and what Drago's got memories of as well as me and stuff. So yeah, so I do believe the Umbrella Academy is based on some of us from the Merge program, which is the Monarch Umbrella Refugee Group. So I believe I know who number 5 and 6 are as well. And I'm not too sure, possibly number 1. I think I know who that is too. So yeah, so it's very interesting. So, but however, I do potentially believe that that could still be me in this body. So how would that work, right? So what I've discovered over the last year, working with super cool people like John Whitberg and Sean Bond, and people from, Rob Khalil's Typical Skeptic podcast, trying to build up that knowing, that information, that foundation of secret space programs, super soldier programs. There's a lot of information out there, and you will know what's true because you will feel it in your bones, what feels true, what you potentially remember. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. If this video is not for you, fair enough. So I'm not expecting people to like this video or love this video or comment on this video. This is just me putting information out there for you based on my personal experiences and things that I have discovered over the last 12 months. So I forgot what I was going to say now. 1 second. Okay, so we're working with these different factions, like Monarch, Nightwaffen and Kruger, Mars Defense, that kind of thing. So sometimes you will be in your physical body and you will be taken out of time. Sometimes, or you'll be taken in a millisecond and put back in a millisecond, even though 20 years or 60 years or 500 years may have passed, Other times you will be cloned, and that version of you will be living off planet in that faction, is the only way I can think of to call them right now. So Monarch like to take you in your original body, and they do that from childhood. I've got memory of being taken through a portal nearby, actually at a shipping yard here, into the Montauk program, Project Phoenix. So I've got a memory of that. But I've also got a memory of me being a boy there. I've got a memory of me being an older teenager in the JPG, Jefferson Proving Ground version. I'm going to be looking into other areas as well, other bases that were part of that Project Phoenix. I do believe this is a version of me that grew up in the Cheyenne Mountain complex, and actually grew up there. So if you haven't watched the Stargate TV series, Stargate SG-1, please do. And so I'm gonna put a post out, put a list out, because I got a list of TV shows from John Whitberg, like 6 months back, of things that he finds helpful to trigger, to activate memories. And then there's some movies from the last 30-40 years that I've watched that I know are activating for me personally. A lot of people found the Disney movies were activating and used for MK Ultra programming. Personally, for me, it was the Bambi movie. I had a reaction to that in the cinema. So if anyone else has had a reaction to Disney, please put a comment below. Wizard of Oz is also used as a programming movie. But I don't know anyone else who's had a reaction to Bambi. The other thing I had a reaction to in the last year or so was Big Trouble in Little China. Okay, there's a chase scene in that when they go into like boiler rooms, and I had a Project Phoenix memory come in because of that. And I was talking to a friend yesterday or today about The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy, which is a classic movie for what we're all going through right now with the Epstein files and everything releasing. Because in The Golden Child, there's a special child who's kidnapped, kept in a cage. They're feeding it, trying to feed it blood, right? It'll be corrupted of the energy. There is a snake-looking woman, an Asian Naga-looking woman, and there's a version of me that looks like that as well off planet. What are so many things happen? They're looking for a medal, a gold coin. So it's making me think about the Goonies now. Okay, so there's so many movies that have disclosure in from the last 30 years. So if you are younger, then you might not be aware of some of the older movies. So let's get a conversation going about that. I will be doing a movie show very soon. Hopefully with Jason, Missing Time 420, who's like top moderator on Typical Skeptic, and possibly with the video shaman, Alex Lipton, who's also a movie person. Yeah, so I love speaking in movie kind of speak. That's how I think, is in movie quotes. I love things like Star Trek, and not so much Star Wars because it's a bit too triggering, but I love Star Trek. So, and there's lots of technology there. Anyway, so I've spoken about Ella and Tabitha, who are scientists. Spoken about Hildy, who's on Mars, who is military. Spoken about Vanya from Umbrella Academy, which is related to the Merge program. I do have a memory that I know is Merge now, which I didn't realise before, but I had it confirmed by Sean Bond. I have an ability to slip into the minds, as I said, of clones or aspects of me. And I found myself a few months back in a version of me that was on a plane. I now know that that was a 15-year-old version of me from the Merge program, that we were doing a time dilated mission, and so when we jumped out of the plane, it wasn't actually a clone, it was me when I was 15, just in the future. And I'd crossed minds with that version of me that's obviously in the now, but from 35 years ago or whatever, which is insane. And so I think the Merge program was like 100-year program ongoing. I need to talk to Drago about that, but I believe that's ongoing, out of time. A lot of these times were put into time bubbles. So things like the Montauk, that's ongoing. That is ongoing. They are in the future. I've spoken about France. I've spoken about Orphan Black. Okay. But Drago being the main version in Orphan Black as well. So in the Orphan Black TV show, you have got the female version that is basically put out into society. But you've got the male version that's put into the military. So they're making military soldiers using clones. And this is quite possible that this is out there right now. Especially with all these ICE agents going on. And there was documented witness testimony that they were using super soldiers in Venezuela. So super soldiers have psionic abilities, which means that they can use their mind to activate other people or to control other people. Sometimes we use our voice tones to do that as well. So we don't always need these sound cannons and things. We can do that psychically, like X-Men or whatever. So I do believe that potentially there's like caster clones are being used as super soldiers. And this could be using our DNA to do that. Anyway, let me think what else. So I've got here about my India aspect, but that was an aspect of me that was altered out. So when you hear about people like Akim Ra talking about all the alters that he has, or John Whitby talking about alters, so this is mind fracture. So you've got the clone versions that are outside of you, but it's still you. And sometimes there's versions of you that are still in there. It's getting a bit hot in here now, that are in your mind, and they will step forward and take over. So I noticed that happening to me a lot in my 20s, which was all kind of related to some really dark ritualistic stuff, is what I've discovered in the last year that I'm not ready to talk about on camera, but I'm aware that the version of me that was the everyday was pushed to the back of the mind, and another version of me was coming forward. Yeah. So when I was living in India for 10 years, I had a memory come forward when I was on a vision quest with Sean Bond, when I was able to access my SSP India life. And the version of me is called Jamira Sethi. So she even had her own name that I've discovered. So she's still me, but she's speaking Hindi. She has an Indian name and an Indian life that she would go and do in an Indian base in Hampi, and and she was working as a diplomat and tracking and tracing artifacts, and so it's just insane. But that was an altar that's still within me, basically. And they would use this physical body just out of time and then put me back. Because the weirdest thing was, the memory that I had, my son had just been born. So I know it was 16 years ago when that was happening. And like, my son is in the crib and I go to bed and I get sucked in through a portal, and I was just like, whoa, this is insane. So yeah, so I'm hoping this gives you guys a little bit of an introduction into clones and alters. It may just be rambling nonsense, I'm not too sure, but this is something that I'm actively working on. With the way the world is at the moment, and with these Epstein files and things coming out, please know that clones are used. I saw a post on Facebook, somebody had put, it might have been Jane Hatcher put it on, and I was talking to Chloe Ariel about it, about Britney Spears. So it is well known that Britney Spears was cloned, and that she was used for trafficking, and that versions of her were in the clone base that is under Europe. That is a massive base. And this massive base is talked about in a few people's books, especially Akim Ra, I think, talks about it. This is where all the elites allegedly go to indulge. They indulge. That's what they do. So there's versions of her there. There's probably versions of me there. And I did get like a bleed through memory experience come forward when I was working with David Purcell, and we were actually talking about something else, but then we managed to remote view into probably that base, realized very quickly that we shouldn't be there, tried to get out, but we were already surrounded by handlers. So yeah, we do have to be careful with this kind of information. We are targeted. I am a targeted individual, which I try not to say those words. I try to say I'm an empowered individual, but it is noted in my ACIO files. I'm in the TIRAP program, which is like the oldest targeting program that there is. So because I go all the way back to the 1920s in this body, right? So and Drago and I are not even from this original timeline, so which is why sometimes it can be quite difficult to meet our needs in this timeline, because we're not originally from here, which is a bit insane. And I'm still trying to unpack that right now. But yeah, please know that the clones are real. Yeah, I've had first-hand experience in seeing myself. I tune into the minds of clones, and I've been warned not to do that, which is a bit suspicious. But I've experienced being taken and being put back. I've been told about me taking at this age, for cloning, whatever. But just know that on that island, there's probably versions of me there. Okay, in that base under Europe, there's probably versions of me there, just like there is in Australia, in Asia, in Russia, in South Africa, in UK, in Cuba, in Peru, in Mexico, America, Canada, Alaska, Antarctica. There's versions of me everywhere. Some may look like me and some may not. Some may be a lot taller, because I'm only 5'1.5" here, that half. And So some may not look like me at all. Some may be male, right? Some may be ET, Zeta DNA or Draco or whatever. But do know that those things are real. And just because they're in a clone body does not make them any less human in my eyes, okay? It's still you. Because someone put a quote on saying, a comment saying, oh, we might need to get clone rights or whatever. These are still humans. It's still human DNA. It's still a human soul there. Okay, so even though they're a version of me and I consider myself to be a primary or a pro clone, a template, it doesn't make my clones any less me. They're still me. Okay, and as a child, I might have been replaced by one of my clones while I went off to do work on a project, and my parents wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. And because there's so many gaps in my memory, I don't know. I probably was replaced at times when when they needed to. They would just swap you out, yeah. So, so they're used for trafficking. They are used for despicable things. They are raised in these underground facilities. They are used. They are transported all over the planet using the maglev train network that's underground. That is for the elites only. They are on the sea, the Black Navy, like Diego Garcia. They've got tunnel systems there as well. So this is real, guys. This is real. This is not fantasy. This is not hearsay. This is real. And there's plenty of people out there that have testimony. There's plenty of people that have testified this 20 years ago or more, and it's coming back out now. So if you choose not to believe, then that is just you being in ignorance because you've got all the information you need and you're choosing to ignore it. Okay, so it really is time to open up our awareness and to take action. I'm not entirely sure what that is right now, of course, but we do really need to come together. The word that's just been coming into my mind for the last 2 weeks is unity, unity, unity. So focusing less on the targeting that's going on and how Project Oblivion is targeting everybody, which I kind of believe we've made that happen because we were worried about it. We were worried about being targeted. So we've manifested it. It's happened because we were thinking about it. Whatever you give energy to is going to happen, right? So now we need to focus on giving our energy to unity, to that love vibration, to awareness, to having completion, to having a completion on these things, yeah? So there's lots of things going on with me and my energy, and I'm just finishing off a 6-week project, so then I'll be moving back into being able to memory mine a bit more. So for me, I do conscious quantum meditation where I set a clear intention. I get myself very, very relaxed, listening to something or just in my body, asking questions, yeah? And then we'll see what comes forward. And when something does come forward or I open an Akashic record, I allow myself to step through and I query, I question, and I take in as much as I possibly can. There was an experience that I haven't fully spoken about, but Drago Reid did a vision quest with Sean Bond in December or early January, and I was watching it live and I was trying to follow along because I love that kind of work, and I've done a couple with Sean Bond. I always feel very supported and safe when I work with him. And with other people on my channel, I work with particular people because I feel very safe. But when I was just following along at home, I wasn't safe. I wasn't protected, like I would have been if I was there with the guys doing it. And I actually got taken and I got attacked and I got my legs broken. And then I came back out and I was just like, what's just happened? And I messaged Sean and said, something's gone down here. So I got a warning, basically. So we do need to be very careful. We do need to protect our energy. We do need to make sure that we are closing contracts. We are saying, I do not consent. I revoke and rescind. Any contracts, and that we avoid giving our energy to anything that doesn't support us fully right now. We avoid giving our energy to things that are not on our highest timeline, not on our highest pathway. And I work with things like crystals and light angels and violet flame, but it's still not enough, guys. So it's time to call in your higher aspects, your angelic versions, your ascended master versions, your dragons and all that kind of stuff. But it's time to be smart about it and to open up our awareness and to not ignore these things anymore. We can't be ignorant anymore. We need to really start talking about it more, okay? Clones are real. Alters aspects, they're all real. These programs, these projects, they are all real, okay? And I know there's plenty of people around me in my everyday. If they saw this video, they would think that I needed to be committed or something. But, and just for the record, I have no desire to take my own life in any way at all. Never. It's not going to happen. So if something like that happens to me, you'll know that it was targeting based, that there's not something I plan to do. And I have had black helicopters over my house in the last year, and I do get active pain targeting, direct energy weapons, voice to skull technology. The things like that does happen. And I try to document it as much as I can. I've even had a handler reach into my mind. I had to push it away. I've had shadow beings in my room. I've had ETs monitoring me constantly. I've had Zeta Greys dumping radiation on me to see how much my clones could take. That was one of the first things that Jessica and I talk about on the video one. So please go check my posts if you haven't already, or check my Anchorhaven Origins playlist. But if you have questions, let me know, because I'm hoping to do a video with some of the other guys who are aware of their clones, their aspects, and a video with Christy Campbell at some point. Christy Campbell has a lot of memories about the brothels, the Mothers of Darkness, the off-world brothels and stuff like that, where I do have a presence. So I'm everywhere, unfortunately. So I just am. Most of it's because of the healing ability and the light ability that I have that can be weaponized. So other than that, there's nothing special about me. This kind of thing happens to everybody. At some point we're going to discover that there's more clone templates. It's not just me and Drago Reid. There's more, and they're everywhere. So please be aware, everybody in Hollywood is a clone. Generally I can identify clone markers in people's faces. So anybody who has massive amounts of followers and are really symmetrical, clone. Yeah, doesn't make them a bad person. They're probably not aware, but it's possible that there is a conflicting agenda there, that they're being manipulated in some way. They could be the victim. Who knows? Yeah, but from my perspective, half the planet is clones. Yeah, I know that sounds a bit nuts, but there you go. That's what I believe at this point in time. So just going to have a look on my list to see if there's anything else for today. No, I just wanted to touch on the science of cloning a little bit. You know, and they made that clone sheep like 30 years ago. So if you don't believe that they could clone humans by now, then something's wrong. Yeah, most of this stuff happens off planet. There's plenty of labs. Australia and London labs are all clone facilities. I recently connected to some new bases, so I will be talking about bases in the Middle East and Europe more soon, and other areas hopefully, when it's safe to do so. Every time I do a video that has a lot of new information and we really deep dive into something, I kind of get punished for it afterwards. I get terrible pain in the body, or I get portals open, and I get dumped with depression and anxiety. So when I do these things, I'm doing it because it's very necessary. Yeah, if I didn't feel it was necessary, I would not be sharing this information with you. So if you have an interest in any of this stuff and getting a high frequency come in, please do your own research. Don't believe me. Don't believe anybody. Do your own research, okay? Go out there, read everything you can, question everything you can. I cannot stress this enough. Please do your own research. So even when I receive new memories or I work with people who give me psychic information, I'm always trying to disprove that information. I'm always trying to figure out, is this real? Does this feel right? And I pick the pieces. So there's still things from the 2-hour session I did with the ACIO that I've not fully felt into, because at the time it didn't make sense. But a year later, I revisit. So I rewatch my videos all the time because my mind is rapidly updating. Okay, my mind is rapidly changing, and I'm using words and conversations I'm having now that I couldn't have even fathomed 2 years ago. I really couldn't have. So please do your own research. Write everything down as well. If you're getting recall, write it down or do these video diaries. I do video diaries because I get so many mind wipes, and I've got self-defeating alters in my mind. So I might have a diary and then I'll go back to it and it's gone. I actually bought 5 diaries, all the same. I don't know where they are. They're gone. So the best way that I can do is video diaries. Plus I talk to friends, and then every now and then they'll say to me, we've spoken about this before, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, oh, it's happened again, hasn't it? So I've noticed that in a 3-month cycle I will go back to the same information. But it really got me when I watched a video of John Whitberg and Sean Bond on Sean's channel from 3 months earlier. And that I was in the comments, I was in the live chat. They were saying my name all throughout the video, but I had no recollection of watching that video, 0. And so I'm watching it back. I'm looking at the live chat from when it was originally recorded. My name is all over it. It's Anchorhaven all the way down. And I just couldn't believe it. Because to me, it was like new content. It was like a fresh video. So it had been completely mind wiped. So this is real, guys. These things happen, okay? And it literally could be like you go to your fridge and your mind wiped. It really could. Or you drink something and your mind wiped. Yeah, so the technology that is available to the dark side, the future tech, it's 250 years ahead of what we have now. It really is, yeah? And if you think it isn't, then, yeah, that's silly. Do some research. So, I hope this makes sense. Please leave some comments, positive comments. Any negative comments will be deleted, but please do ask some questions or share your experiences. And if you would like to be a guest on my podcast, please do send me a message on Instagram or Facebook, or you can send me an email via my website, okay? So anything negative, I just ignore it. It's just not helpful. If it's not helpful, it's potentially harmful. This year is all about do no harm, but take no shit. Okay? So I hope you have progress in your memories, progress in your life. I hope you have abundance coming your way and that we can all unite. 2026 has to be a year where we unite, where we come together aligned with a common message, yeah, a common theme, and we make things happen for the positive. We're dealing with children and babies. That's what the news is all about. We're being used as food on planet, not even just off planet. And I know I have clones off planet that are sold as food, but we have children and babies being used as food on planet. They're turning us into, you know, cannibals. And because we're not objecting, it's like we're consenting. Okay, so that we need to start objecting. We need to start stating, I will not do this, I will not allow this, I do not consent to this, and according to cosmic law, I will not allow this. Yeah, we need to get stronger with that kind of thing, and we need to start looking at everything and all the labels that they put on food packaging. We need to start deciphering what all of that means. Yeah, even, you know, they use gases and sprays on everything. They can put viruses into fruit and vegetables. So there's so much going on that we're not fully aware to. So please, if you have information, share it. Yeah, if you have an idea, research it. If you know how to help people, let's start doing it. Okay, so thank you for watching my video. And I apologize if it was very rambling and all over the place, but it's quite a difficult topic to discuss. So I'm just scraping the surface here of information that I've discovered in the last year. So I hope to go deeper on the clones, on the alters, on the aspects, on world, off world. I'll go deeper when I can. Okay, take care.